Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of a post-race analysis video on the channel. I'm Keegan Schneider. We're going to break down what happened in tonight's Kansas NASCAR Cup race on the the final weekday race of the season on a Thursday night. It was a pretty thrilling one, to say the least. I definitely enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm going to take you through what all happened, and then we'll take a look at the finishing results and the fantasy team to see how that shaped up at the end of the night. So, first and foremost, we started with the green flag run. Pretty much no incidents all the way through stage one. In fact, there were no cautions for incident in the opening stage of the race. They got to that competition yellow at lap 25. Joey Logano had led every lap up to that point before Logano had to drop to the back. He had a pit road error that wasn't his fault. Of course, an uncontrolled tire penalty sent him at the rear of the field. And that pretty much derailed any sort of shot he had because of what happened a little bit later in the race. The driver that ended up taking charge after that was Kyle Busch. Busch looked like he had the faster car during the daylight hours of the race, at least the later daylight hours of the race, with it starting just after 7:30 Eastern Standard Time here today. So they had about roughly an hour to an hour and a half of daylight at the very beginning, and that's where Kyle Busch seemed like he had the fastest car. He couldn't keep up with the track. He did win stage one, getting that first playoff win of the season, though, so that enough. Seemed to be the much-needed success that team needed. He was in the top five pretty much all day long for the most part until the very end of the race. Again, we'll get to that in a little bit. Stage two rolled right around the corner. We had a couple cautions for incident in stage number two. Bubba Wallace went for a little bit of a spin there, and then from that point on is when you saw different strategies taking play as far as 2 tires versus 4 tires, because we had less laps during the green flag run. And we were really going to see how much tires were going to play a factor. It seemed like when you had the clean air out in front of the field, 2 tires was the way to go in this race. But as soon as you lost the lead, you started dropping back like a rock with the 2 tires. So unless you can hold on to the lead, which if you had a good restart, you could typically hold on for about maybe 10, 15 laps at the most. And then you couldn't hold on much longer after that. Unless you had, of course, a lot more drivers that had taken 2 tires. But then again, if you can't get to the lead on the restart, it seemed to really hurt the performance in the race car. So there was a lot of tire fall off here in this race compared to Texas on Sunday. But the stage 2 winner ended up going to Brad Keselowski. He made a pass on my guy Ryan Blaney there with 2 laps to go. I thought Blaney, with that 2-tire strategy at the end of the stage with the later caution because of Bubba Wallace going for a spin, was going to be enough to really hold off Keselowski. He was so close. If it ended 2 laps sooner, he would have had it, but he was doing everything he could. He was battling a loose race car all day long. Then we got into the third and final stage of the race, and boy, was it crazy again. I mean, it seems like every single race now, it's pretty mellow start to the race for the most part. There's some good racing in the first, half of the race, but you get into that second half of the race towards the end of stage 2, and the business starts to pick up again. It's a completely different race, and it was like that tonight. That is for sure. Restarts were getting even crazier. We saw 4 and 5 wide action a couple times. In fact, there was this one restart late in the race where there was 4 wide at 2 different areas of the track, and then they were going 3 by 3 from like 4th back through like 10th. So it was insane. There was a couple of very hard accidents. Joey Logano on the one restart in the final stage actually had a left rear tire go down. He said he felt it on the pace laps, but he thought it might have been something with the shock, so he decided to stay on the racetrack, and that ended up costing him and a lot of other drivers. Logano with the flat left front, center of the corner in turns 1 and 2, just completely went up the track into the wall, stacking up the field that was already going 3 and 4 wide behind him. Involved guys like Chris Buescher, Jimmy Johnson, who had nowhere to go. Ryan Newman and Austin Dillon were all involved in that accident. So unfortunately for Jimmy Johnson being on the cut line, only 2 points to the good coming into the race today. He definitely did not need that. Also, William Byron barely missed that accident to the outside. And fortunately for Austin Dillon as well, even though he had wrecked and had DNF'd. Well, he didn't DNF, but he ended up obviously finishing tens of laps down at the end of the race because of that accident. Luckily enough, he had that win last week at Texas. So he avoided the bubble. He was already locked in. Matt DiBenedetto took a pretty hard hit into the outside wall, but not as hard as a hit of as what Ryan Preece took into the inside wall on the very next restart. Very next restart again, 3-4 wide action. It looked like, I think it was Matt Kenseth, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Kenseth who, I think it was Kenseth who ended up trying to give Christopher Bell a push down the back straightaway, and I believe that it turned him into the outside wall. Bell came back down the center of the racetrack, and that ended up collecting another driver, and then obviously behind Ryan Preece, who tried to duck down. And actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it, it was Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman was involved in that accident, not the accident prior, so my bad on that. Ryan Newman had hit the back bumper of Christopher Bell, and then Bell ended up into the wall, came back down the track. Newman hit him again, and as they both came down the racetrack, Ryan Preece was there. Looked like he had it missed, and he ended up getting clipped on the right rear, and I think it looked like it blew the right rear tire. So even though the car was sliding, looked like it was going to take a head-on hit, he hit an even more awkward angle because of the right rear tire going down. Air got underneath the car as he hit the inside wall, almost went up and over. He was practically on his side, came back down on all four tires, got out of the car very quickly. He was very frustrated. That's a fourth straight DNF for Ryan Preece in this race. I think he's finished 36th or worse in the last 4 races now. So very unfortunate for them. And Stenhouse having issues earlier with a mechanical failure, an electrical fire on the inside of the race car. Not a good night for JTG Doherty, nor a good last couple of weeks for JTG Doherty Racing. We got closer and closer to the finish of the race. Front runners, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, who have been in the top 5 all day long. Blaney got into the wall, ended up cutting a tire there towards the end of the race. So did Kyle Busch. Corey LaJoie ended up a little further back, cut a tire, which brought out the last caution of the race. And we had a strategy between Alex Bowman, William Byron on the last pit stop there, taking 2 tires. Everyone behind them took 4. Heck of a restart by Kevin Harvick, getting to the lead immediately on that opening lap of the restart. Harvick, while leading the restart about 5 laps later, got caught by Denny Hamlin. Brad Keselowski started running down Denny Hamlin, and as he got about 0.3 of a second or so behind him with about 5 to 6 laps to go, Keselowski nudged into the wall, fell back a little more, and was really running out of laps at the end of the race. Denny Hamlin was able to hold on to get his 5th win of the season. Keselowski was very close, but this is probably the best Keselowski has looked from start of the race to the end of the race here in the last couple of weeks, so good to go for him. He was definitely the best Penske car here tonight, with Blaney being a close second, but Blaney didn't get the finish. He probably deserved, once again, on a 1.5 miles, scoring a lot of stage points, but he just can't get the finishes here for whatever reason. This time it was a driver error for Blaney instead of a mechanical error or somebody else's, mistake that ends up costing him. It was all Blaney tonight with his fault. And Kyle Busch, of course, actually got back to the lead lap, and I think he finished just outside the top 10 and 11. So I don't know how he came back from that after getting in the wall and losing a lap there. Must have got the free pass under that last caution. So regardless of the fact, that is what all happened in this race here today. I tried to go through as much as I could, but now let's take a look at the finishing results. Now let's take a look at the finishing results here for this race at Kansas tonight. So Denny Hamlin again gets the win here. Brad Keselowski P2, Martin Truex Jr. P3, Harvick 4th. Eric Jones rounds out the top 5. That was a big night for Eric Jones, knowing that he was on the outside of the playoff cut line coming in. Guys ahead of him had trouble, like I mentioned earlier on. Eric Almirola keeps his top 10 streak alive with a 6th place finish. He was the one of the dark horse picks I had for tonight's race, so he definitely came to race here in this one. Cole Custer 7th, Alex Bowman in 8th, Kurt Busch in 9th. Kurt Busch was one of my must-haves, stuck in there with a top 10 at the end, and William Byron rounds out the top 10. Again, a lot of drivers had problems here in this one tonight. Ricky Stenhouse, BJ McLeod, Timmy Hill, Bubba Wallace, Matt DiBenedetto, Joey Logano, Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher, Jimmy Johnson, Brendan Poole, Reed Sorensen, Ryan Newman, Austin Dillon, and a lot of drivers DNF'd here. Actually, I think Ryan Newman and Austin Dillon stayed on the track at the end of the race and still finished things off. So yeah, a lot of DNFs here as we see. It looks like we had 11 cars DNF in the race here tonight. So that is the finishing results. Now let's take a look at how the fantasy team did. So, of course, waiting for everything to finalize as usual when I come to the conclusion of the race, and I come here straight afterwards. We made a little bit of a mistake as we had Alex Bowman as our garage driver. He just wasn't performing that well in stage 1, majority of stage 2. Had a little bit of a pit strategy there at the end to get 2 stage points at the end of the second stage, but I just didn't think he was going to be able to hang on like Chase Elliott and Kurt Busch, who looked like they were getting slowly better and better throughout the course of the race. But Bowman was there when the time came at the end. He got the top 10. Chase Elliott did not. Kurt Busch didn't get as many stage points either. So realistically, we only lost out on 5 points there. So I guess that was pretty much that. But again, Kurt Busch, Almirola, I knew that they were going to have great nights. I told you guys that you should probably have them in your lineup, and they both performed pretty well. Chase Elliott, on the other hand, though, he was my pick to win, and he, in my opinion, I thought he had very high hopes, and he was the last of the 4 Hendrick cars on speed tonight. William Byron showed a little bit of speed there late with the track position included, but Byron still got the top 10. Bowman got a top 10. Johnson was running pretty fast in the top 10 until that one accident that he got caught up in the backstretch with nowhere to go. Definitely wasn't his fault, just more bad luck for him. And Chase Elliott was outside the top 20 most of the race. If it wasn't for the pit strategy, he definitely would not have finished inside the top 15 like he did in that 12th position. But that definitely bailed me out at least a little bit, and he only had 1 stage point to show for here tonight, so that was costly. Blaney got in the wall a little later in the race, got caught, finished the lap down in 20th, so that cost me. And Tyler Reddick was looking decent. He actually scored stage points in stage 2 and was working his way to the front. I believe he got in the wall at one point in time, and that really kind of knocked a little bit of speed out of the car. So overall, a mediocre night for the fantasy team. Definitely not what I was looking forward to. Again, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Kevin Strong finishes tonight. I completely overlooked Truex. I usually don't do that when I do these fantasy predictions and videos and all that stuff for you guys. I just completely overlooked how good of recent history that Truex has had, so I'm very sorry for that. And as well, I'm sorry for myself because I didn't have him in the lineup when I probably could have, because I still had 4 starts left with him. That definitely would have been a good night to have him. And no bonus points here for tonight because Chevy didn't get the win, and Chase Elliott, again, did not perform well. So out of the drivers I had, it looks like I had 4th, 8th, 9th was in the garage, 11th, 12th, and 14th. So again, not terrible, but at the same time, kind of mediocre. NASCAR Weekly Podcast League, 36th, not great at all. Right there, I'll likely end up losing points, or losing a little bit in the rankings. I don't think I'll lose too much, but at the same time, I guess the only good thing that happened is none of my drivers got caught up in wrecks throughout the course of the race in this one, especially in that 3rd stage, with it being much wilder than the first stage or even the first half of the 2nd stage. But that's going to conclude things for here. Let me know down in the comment section below what were your thoughts on the race today. It definitely blew me away. I thought it was a pretty good race, and definitely didn't know who was going to win until that white flag had come out on the last lap. So stay tuned for more daily NASCAR content, so hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the bell notification button so you guys don't miss another upload, and I will see you guys. We'll have some live streaming action tomorrow for NASCAR Heat 5 again with the full race live streams and a realistic broadcast. So hit the like button down below also if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.